Hello, everyone, and welcome back to RedHawks Weekly. Alongside Eric Peterson for the Forum, I'm Jody Norstedt from WDAY TV, and boy, the RedHawks are finally back in town. They've been on the road for about 2 weeks. They played Sussex County, New Jersey, and Rockland, all out of the Can-Am League. They go 6-5 on this road trip, so they pick up some wins, but this is a team that's still kind of on the outside looking in at a playoff spot. Pretty much, I think the playoffs are an afterthought right now.
I mean, if they wanted any chance of getting back into the race at all, they'd have had to gone like, 9-2, 10-1, 11-0, and that's just tough to do, especially all the travel they went through, flying out there, then busing to all the different sites and flying back. But the encouraging part is 6-5. They're playing above 500 over that last stretch. I think the team batting average over the last week has been more than 300. So they're showing signs of improvement, and they're showing signs like they're not packing it in, even though they're at the bottom of the standings in the North Division.
And the RedHawks fans will notice some different faces, different names on the roster. Third base, Taylor Oldham joined the club, 7 hits in his first 4 games with the RedHawks. He was 4 for 4 in the finale against Rockland. This is a guy from Orlando, Florida, but what do you think Oldham brings to the table? We haven't even seen him yet.
Well, he's played third base. Obviously, he's hit the ball well. I think it's maybe solidifying that spot all year. That's been a problem spot. They've had a guy there who could field and maybe not the best hitter. Then there's a guy there, could maybe hit and maybe not field. So maybe Oldham brings you a little more of the complete package, a solid fielder and a bat. And then the other guy I think you're going to bring up is Ryan Pineda at second base. Frank Salerno got traded when they're out there on the East Coast. And Ryan Pineda is a guy whose name may sound familiar to RedHawks fans because he was in a camp a few years back, and they probably knew what they're getting into reacquiring him. So I think they feel like they've probably solidified the infield a little bit more making those acquisitions.
You've seen some highlights. This is Drew Murin hitting a home run. You've seen plenty of highlights of Chad Mazingo throughout the season. Really, Chad Mazingo still batting over 300, 39 RBI, leads the team. And Joe Dunnigan, we've seen him struggle, but he's starting to get a little bit back on track. I think 3 home runs on the road trip, 8 home runs on the year. But Mazingo and Dunnigan, those are your 2 RBI leaders, and those are guys that you keep looking to kind of lead this team even through these dark days.
Yeah, and those are the guys, that's what they signed on for. I mean, they're the veteran salary slots, and when you hold down those veteran salary slots, especially in Dunnigan's case, you have to produce. And maybe him going back to the East Coast, he played in the Can-Am League last year, maybe he felt a little comfortable playing in some of those parks, and that got him going a little bit. But it's just been a season where there just hasn't been consistency top to bottom. And, teams that they've been losing to, they'll come in and they'll have, production all the way through the lineup. And that's one thing this team was lacked. So I guess at this point, you got to play out the string. Maybe you start finding new guys for next year and see what you got with some of these young players. Because there's a lot of young guys on this team right now.
Well, let's talk a little bit about an article that you had wrote about foul balls. You might not think headline story foul balls, but this guy went and did his homework a little bit. Tell us a little bit about the story that was in this week's paper.
Well, the initial thought was, where do you sit to catch a foul ball? So I went and charted 3 games in June when the Winnipeg Goldeyes were in town, and there's about 36, 37 foul balls per game, and they kind of sprayed out where you thought in that general admission area for right-handed hitters. They'd spray it there, and then the kind of the KL and M, the end spots on the other side. But the more interesting thing for me in general is that they spend nearly $20,000 a year on baseballs, which is something you don't think about. Each ball that goes in the stand roughly costs the RedHawks $4.20 a game ball. And then, you go into some of the details about they have this rubbing mud that's used throughout professional baseball to rub it down so it's less shiny so a pitcher can grip it better. So you just find all this behind the scenes stuff where you just think they just roll a ball out there and play, but there's stuff that goes into it, and the umpires before each game have to rub down all these baseballs.
So next time the RedHawks ask for a ball back, think about that. You're handing $4 back to them, and I'm sure they'd appreciate it. What else did you find interesting about it?
Well, they won't ask for it back, but if it goes to the crowd and a fan gets it, it's $4.20, but sometimes you see it fouled back off the screen and it stays in play. You see a ball boy scurry to get it. Yep. Well, if it's scuffed up or there's a mark, the umpire is not going to put that ball back in play. So it becomes this whole, lifespan for this baseball. It could go into a batting practice bag or like a throwing bag where they play catch. So, but say it goes to a batting practice bag. Then when that ball gets worn down a little bit where it gets too many swings, then it might go into like the indoor batting cage bag. And from there it can go to like some tee work. So there's this like lifespan of a baseball that could be, 2-3 months depending on how it holds up. So
and baseballs can't get called back up to the majors once they're they're on the decline.
Once a baseball is used up, man, there's no bouncing back. There's no PEDs for baseballs. Last time I checked,
performance-enhancing baseballs. Anyway, next time you're out at the ballpark, hopefully this week sometime or maybe next week, just kind of think about that. Maybe look at E's chart and see where should I sit if I want to catch a foul ball and get a souvenir to bring home either to the kids or have a kid catch one at the game. Let's take a look at the standings. Obviously, RedHawks fans have been disappointed with this year, but you look at the standings, boy, 5 games out of second place, and it's just ridiculous what St. Paul's been able to do this year, but that race for second place is still on in the division, and it only separates five games.
That's probably the goal right now. Maybe getting back to 500 is not a reasonable goal. The wild card's probably a tough goal. I think they're like 10 to 12, probably 12 games or more back in the wild card race. But if they set a goal of let's get to second in the North Division, maybe that's what you play for here down the stretch in the last, handful of home games in this final month of the season here.
You think, in your gut, do you think we're seeing the last of Zach Penpraise?
I thought maybe that last year, but he came back, and part of the reason he came back this year is because he had a bad taste in his mouth last year, and maybe that goes through his mind again, and maybe he's like, I don't want my career to end on a season as bittersweet and losing season. So if he feels healthy, maybe he'll give it one more go around. It's hard to say, but he's been playing on this team forever. I mean, what is it, 8 seasons now? That's a long time. So maybe at some point he just says, enough's enough, and if I just kind of keep on waiting to end perfectly, that's not going to happen. So maybe this could be the end.
Boy, it would be tough not to hear Hall & Oates next year, but we'll see how the RedHawks close out this season. Alongside Eric Peterson, I'm Jody Norstedt. We'll see you next time on RedHawks Weekly.